What should be taught in US public schools that is not taught currently? Basic finance. I was struggling my senior year with calculus. Admittedly, I was lazy but still needed a math that year to graduate. Got put into something called consumer math, where the generally less smart kids were often placed. Taxes, figuring pricing per unit, budgeting, interest rates, credit scores, etc. Holy was the most IRL useful math class I have ever taken. Went to college later and was able to have a much better relationship and much more success with math, but that high school consumer math has always stuck with me. Emo, every kid should be taught that information. Every high school in the US should have a mandatory class that teaches federal and that states labor laws, and that states landlord-tenant laws. I say that states because teaching the varied labor and tenant laws of all 50 states would be both burdensome and confusing. But I've met a lot of people who were never aware that any states even have such laws, so teaching every teenager, yes, your state has laws regarding how employees can be treated and what rights renters have, and here there will give them the base knowledge to know to even look for such laws if they move elsewhere. I wish that PE was less useless sports and more actually getting in tune with your body. It wasn't until I was an adult that I learned that there are physical body movements that you can use to de-escalate bad social interactions and ones that you can use to personally calm yourself down with. I stumbled upon them in a 1990s police training VHS. They were a real game changer when I worked in security and I still use them. I really wish it was taught in school both when I was young and now. So many people do not know how to physically release their feelings appropriately. American history. The actual kind. The next generation would be much different if they knew about Blair Mountain and the Homestead Strike. Imagine if curriculums focused on events that shaped the present, like segregation and Jim Crow, the bombing of Black Wall Street. We need to teach about internment camps and the loss of generationally held lands with the same force we teach about concurrent events. The only way to prevent the reoccurrence of past injustice is to face it head on and learn from it. The whitewashing of American history is a tragedy waiting to happen. My teen had the option of a year-long, full math credit course that was 100 life math. How to budget, how taxes and mortgages work, investing, saving, etc. The final project was a long-term budget for the first year of their lives outside of school, specific to the circumstances they were embarking on. All but my kids were seniors. They learned stuff I still don't know or fully understand in my 40s. It's crazy how much easier a time I would have had if I'd known all that. Everyone should have this available to them, especially over calculus. I teach 7th grade at public school, so I fully realize that schools are already exceeding maximum capability to provide all these services without adequate funding, but, if we could add anything, I would nominate a health class for high schoolers designed to teach about mental illnesses and personality disorders that disrupt relationships, what causes them, how to recognize them, how to spot and respond to red flags, how students can inoculate themselves against abuse and toxic behaviors in relationships. I know that school curriculum varies a lot between states and even neighboring school districts, but y'all are commenting a lot about basic graduation requirements I had to go through in high school. Did no one have to go through an economics civics class to learn things about taxes, finances, career planning, resumes job interviewing, etc. or some basic home EC classes that taught things like cooking, cleaning, sewing, basic home improvement type things? I agree with many of the suggestions here, but I really adamantly think we need to improve our history education. The current generation seems to believe things couldn't have happened the way they happened because we don't do things anymore that we used to do. If you don't believe something could have happened because it doesn't happen anymore, you deny the past and you repeat it. It also makes you judge the past with a current viewpoint, which makes no sense. This isn't a new phenomenon. I know so many boomer-aged people who are dumb as bricks and lousy examples for their kids. I remember getting a C on a report card and getting talked to about it. Many of my friends never had parents who paid much attention to their schooling and therefore, neither did they. Moving forward, they had children and now everyone blames the schools. It starts at home with reading and flashcards and proper parenting. Home EC skills needs to be required. There are just too many adults that don't know how to do basic adult skills: cooking, cleaning, basic repairs, childcare. It does not take a specific set of genitals to master any of the above either. By 18 years, you should be able to clean a house and make a basic meal of a 9-course, a starch rice, pasta, potatoes, yams or bread and a vegetable on your own. We need to teach kids actual real-world skills, and also need to teach better physical education, and not have kids sitting all day. So, self-defense, swimming, First aid. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or teaching unconscious biases. Personal finance. Basic household and personal tasks such as changing a tire, unclogging a toilet, etc. Gardening. Meditation. Amongst many other things. My entire knowledge of World War I from school was that Franz Ferdinand got shot and it was a powder keg of tensions already. That's all. Multiple grades never went beyond the term powder keg. I don't even know what a powder keg is. I gather it's some sort of old bomb or something based on context clues, but the entire school system just skipped over a massive, world-changing war. I think kids in high school should have to take a statistics class. Being able to understand statistics is so important these days. Also, a mandatory class in rhetoric. Being able to identify and understand different rhetorical tactics is also important. And I feel it's undertaught. Finally, debate. Basically anything that teaches critical thinking skills would be huge. The US education system is designed to push kids through anytime a kid needs remediation. This creates a burden for schools and teachers. Thus, schools are often too liberal about passing kids that should otherwise be failing kids that didn't meet the learning requirements of the class course, but for the sake of saving time, money, and effort, are passed anyways. Critical thinking. From the start of kindergarten, kids should be exposed to pictures and then one person says one thing and one says another thing and which one made a mistake. It should be included in all curricula at all levels through high school graduation. It should be added to math classes and science classes and history classes and gym and everything else. An American history class, the business plot, the Tulsa Massacre, the Move bombing, the Bisbee deportation, the assassination of Fred Hampton, the CIA's Operation Chaos. Basically any historical event that's been swept under the rug because it rightfully paints white men in power as villains. None of the events listed were ever taught at my high school. Taking at least one additional language aside from English should be mandatory beginning in elementary school. I think this is the absolute biggest oversight of the US education system aside from our piss poor sex ed. Second languages are offered maybe as an elective starting in high school, and by then you can never obtain a correct accent or true fluency. Stocks, bonds, financial planning, investments, wealth accumulation techniques. Who to go to for actual financial advice, basically anything that will appropriately teach kids to manage and plan out their moves involving money so when they get into the real world, they don't fall on their faces because their parents have no clue how to handle money either. This thread is full of things that shouldn't be taught by schools. Teachers are now tasked with teaching things like morality worldview, to the detriment of teaching things like reading and math. The more we expect schools to cover, in place of parents, families, communities doing their duty, the less effective they will be at teaching any of it. They need to offer a lot more instruction in economics. So many people just have no clue about markets or capitalism, let alone any of the macro stuff. And that's the system we're all living in. It impacts our lives. People vote for politicians because of their economic plans while having little understanding of the impact of those plans. Shame it's so politicized these days, but in a country with more guns than people, every adult should know what to do if he or she comes across an unattended firearm. For the record, drop the magazine and clear the chamber for mag-fed semi-automatics or open the action and empty the chambers for revolvers, break-action shotguns, etc. Can we provide a course on how to protect yourself from scammers, crooks, and other clowns, as well as how to do actual research on a topic to get more information instead of reading random mess on the internet and assuming it's accurate? The amount of misinformation being pumped across everybody's phones, computers, and tablets is scary. Why bother even worrying about what's taught? Kids these days have no legitimate fear of failure, so they barely apply themselves in so many capacities. What difference does it make? They need to return that fear to students in grade school. Perhaps that's the answer to this question. Accountability needs to be taught in our classrooms. After reading the comments, I think Boy Scouts should be more popular, and also Girl Scouts should do the same stuff Boy Scouts does, cuz I'd quit Girl Scouts too. Do they teach you how to do financial stuff? First aid? Wilderness training? Do they say stuff like, don't do drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't do illegal stuff? Do they still teach typing? My zillennial friends' coworkers were amazed by how fast I typed and wished they were as quick. I asked, didn't you do Mavis Beacon teaches typing? And they looked at me blankly. I only graduated HS 13 years ago, but apparently computer classes don't really teach it, if they take a computer class at all. Logic and reasoning: a lot of kids my age can't hold a simple argument or debate in any college classes because they simply go with what feels good and not what does good. Also anything that handles taxes or how to disperse your earnings, thankfully my dad helped teach me, but most of my friends were not that lucky. How to properly debate and knowing what logical fallacies are. I'm starting to see younger people be essentially proud of blocking people on social media as soon as they disagree with them. If people can handle opposition to their argument, compromise and working together with people with different ideals is over. Basic household finance. How to evaluate a loan or make a budget is a far more useful skill than calculus or algebra for almost all occupations. How to make the right choice between long-term debt, short-term debt or cash for major purchases, and the impact on taxes of different kinds of financing is never taught. Financial literacy. I know it's offered in a number of schools, but it should be mandatory. Very close second would be basic computer technology. Too many kids from Gen Z and onward are completely clueless when it comes to the most basic functions of technology they use literally every single day. Have you ever read a sentence that the average middle school student wrote? You need a degree to decipher that shit. Literacy is the glue of civilization. Start with that and then follow with basic math. These are a couple of cornerstones of managing so many other things as an adult. Music and art. Music education helps kids master the fundamentals such as math and literacy, and also gives many kids who are struggling a kind of home that they don't have elsewhere. Cutting art, music, and theater programming has been an unmitigated disaster for America's kids.